Okay guys, so I am just gonna jump on here. I know that lives are usually scheduled and people tell you about it, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and then I'm gonna save it so that way it's up as a kind of an IGTV kind of running thing. I wanna talk to you guys, hi guys. So I wanna talk to all you guys about working with neutralization. So there's a lot of information kind of going on and around all over the internet and in online classes, in-person classes. It's just become a really popular topic and kind of treatment. And with that being said, its popularity is getting me an inbox and a DM box full of people asking me to help them after something maybe has not gone the way that they had intended, whether that's from the student side or from the client side. And I want to go over just a few things about pigment selection. I've kind of got my tray here. Like I said, I'm going to do this down and dirty. Hi guys, if you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm not really tech savvy, forewarned, but I'm going to do my very best here to try and answer questions and kind of say what I need to say. So, okay, when you're working with Melanin Rich Lips, you are working with either hyperpigmented lips or people who are ethnically predisposed to having enriched melanin in their skin. The industry has kind of labeled these as either violet undertones or blue undertones, but the reality is, guys, the skin doesn't make blue, right? Your melanosomes, your melanocytes, they don't make blue, right? Pheomelanin and eumelanin make the range between white, pink, peach, yellow, right? You get those tones from pheomelanin, and you get brown and black from eumelanin. There's no blue. Without blue, right, you can't have purple, and without blue, you can't have blue, right? So there are no actual blue undertones. So as permanent makeup artists, we use color theory, right? But color theory from the paint world really doesn't apply, as we're missing parts of the wheel, right? We have no blue for the undertone, and we have no green, right? So we're missing some of these paint colors, right? So we have to kind of assess these melanin-rich clients, these hyperpigmented clients, for the undertone that they actually have, which is a brown that is either extremely saturated and low in value, or or low in saturation and high in value, or some derivation of that hue, which is the color, being shifted on the value and saturation scale, right? Other way to claim that is brightness and temperature. I don't know if you guys all have your iPhone apps out, and maybe you take a photo, and if you go into the editor on your phone app, you can slide the saturation to lower or to higher. You can slide that temperature around and make things cooler or warmer, or you can slide that value, that brightness scale, that lightness, brightness value up and down, right? Those are what we are shifting when we're working neutralization. And you have to understand that for first and foremost. So my students get this in class. This is actually a student manual. I happen to have one here. And it is actually a scale, right, that deals with hyperpigmentation and melanin-rich lips. And it kind of showcases the 8 most commonly seen undertones when working with darker lip tones. All of these tones are some variation on brown, right? We're mixing pheomelanin and eumelanin, okay, to create the color, the hue, and the body's production either increases or decreases the saturation and the value of that color, that tone. Okay, so how do you deal with this, right? So people are always asking me, what color do you use? Guys, this is not an easy question to answer. What pigment brand? What line? All right, it's not that simple. Hold on, let me flip some pages here, because I've also got pigment all over my hands. All right, so give me one sec. It's in here. It's a lot of color theory in my class. It's like 12 pages already. Okay, so So, all right, so I was talking hue, saturation, temperature, and lightness. So I wanna kind of give you guys a little bit of a view of that, right? All of this shifts how the tone, the undertone of that lip is affected, right? It's really important that you understand that, because no two oranges, I'm gonna put this over here, no two oranges, no two yellows are created equal. Here I have a few brands that I happen to have in my repertoire from all over. And as you guys can see, no orange is orange is orange is orange, right? So you need to understand that when you're working neutralization, that you have to find the correct complementary color, not only for the hue, right? You have a cool hue, you need something warm, whether that's orange or maybe yellow. You also need the correct corresponding saturation and value for that undertone. You even have some more oranges right here. I've got, and I just quick grab, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's 10 oranges right there. I happen to have 2 different kinds of yellows here. You guys can see they are different, right? This one is brighter than this one, right? This one is more saturated than this one. It makes a difference when you work neutralization. You have to be able to identify not only the hue, but where it sits on the scale, right? This is super important. What's happening is that artists are using an orange, whatever orange they choose, they just pluck one as their modifier, and clients are coming back healed with orange lips, right? Some variation of this coral color lip. Or it's darkening the lip because the natural saturation was too high for the saturation of the orange that was used, right? Or the value was too low for the saturation of orange that was used, right? This makes a big, big difference, right? Companies are now getting smart about that, and they're releasing purple, right? If you look at a painter's color wheel, you will realize that if you are orange, you can correct with purple, and I've done it here on the back of my hand. I had orange here and I mixed it with purple, and I end up with brown again. However, if the saturation value are incorrect on the purple you use to the artificial now orange base that you have, you are going to reverse the process and potentially make it too dark. So yeah, it's a lot. Color theory is really intense, and it's like a muscle, like anything else, right? My students sit here in class and they work muscle memory with their hands all the time. It's a muscle you can develop. The same with color theory. You can exercise your brain to fit this information. I happen to have 2 brown colors here, and you can see that this one is much deeper than this one, right? So if I have someone come in with lips that possess both of these kinds of browns, I need to use 2 different modifiers, 2 different corrector pigments or neutralization pigments to work these 2 separate shades of brown, hues of brown, right? You need something with a very light tone here to cancel out that deep black, and maybe here you need something that is a little more on the neutral side in that light scale. Saturation wise, this is more intensely saturated than this, right? So I would need something, excuse me, I would need something maybe a little more on the orange side here, and here I would need something a little bit more maybe on the peach side, right? It's more in the middle. So, you know, that orange and that yellow mixed together with some white, we get peach, right? And you need to work with a peach tone that will give you a base and maybe something brighter to pick up the that heavy, intense value and saturation. It's really important that you get a handle on all of this. I don't just work with 2 or 3 pigments and then I can confuse everybody a little bit more and we can talk about dilution, Because when you run dilution into these pigments, you get something you guys are probably all familiar with as a drawdown, right? You see people do it in class all the time with a cotton swab. They take the pigment and then they wet the swab and they swipe it across paper. I happen to have an example of one in here. So this book is humongous, right? A lot of companies will even provide this for you. It's one of the reasons I love Ever After pigments, right? These guys have a full drawdown. So you can see as I dilute that pigment, the deeper pigments go away and the color gets lighter and almost brighter until it turns into something a little more on the white side, right? What your pigment is made out of, right? Those CI numbers are terribly important. You need to know what those are. Not knowing what those are, you can accidentally pick up a pigment. My bucket. Good thing for rolly chairs, right? You could grab something that looks peach, like this, but I can tell you on the CI number that this contains a lot of red. And when you're working with something so deep and dark, red may not be where you want to start, right? Neutralization occurs over multiple sessions, right? Some of my clients need 2, some need 3, some need 4 sessions. It's better to underpigment and have somebody come back and need more pigmentation than pigment them incorrectly to a high degree and then have to work on that thereafter, right? Oh my God, my client came back orange. I'm gonna use now a purple color and turn their lips pink. No, you're gonna turn them a little bit more on the brown side again, right? You're neutralizing, right? So you have to really be mindful of what you're doing. It's not brow skin. It's not a normal tattoo on the body. The skin is different, right? It's more akin to a membrane than it is to body skin, right? It's much thinner. The cellular structure is like a clear cytoplasm around, so it's got some kind of translucence, transparency to it, right? You guys all know that. You get up in the morning, your lips are pinker. It's because your blood flow is more there. You know, you're walking around all day, blood is going to the extremities. It's not as bright and vibrant. So, yeah. Who's got questions? I know a lot of you guys jumped on. I wasn't actually expecting that to happen. I was kind of expecting just to chat a little. But if you have questions, don't hesitate. And I'm gonna put some mix out here on my paper plate, because that's what I had that was kind of white and beige. All right. I encourage you guys, artists, play with your colors. Right? Finger paint. Just soap and water. Wash it off later. All right. Some of this. Oh, can. It's not open. Huh. New bottle. It's because I don't really use it. Okay, let's see. There's a reason I wear brown and black all the time. Pigments all over myself. Hey guys. All right, let's see. No, I had another brown here. It's really hard to see underneath all these lights. All right. So I'm making this artificially. Obviously, it's with paint, right? Pigment is paint. It's just made a little differently. So you guys know, if you were listening before, that the body doesn't make blue. So we don't really have blue and violet. We have different varying degrees of brown. So I have taken a light brown and a dark brown and stuck them here on the plate. And I also have a yellow and an orange here on the plate. I just grabbed one, right? We're gonna see what happens here. I get an orangey coral color. Yes, because this color, this lighter color, right? This saturation, value, and hue are not correct, right? I'm getting something more akin to a peach. It still maintains that dark intensity, right? Looks more like an orangey lipstick. Okay, different finger. Okay, I mix just the lighter brown and the yellow. I get something a little more akin to a lighter brown, but it's still just not right, right? So now I have to make this right. How am I gonna make this right? Clean my hands first. Otherwise I'm gonna contaminate it. Okay, all right. The right color for this undertone, maybe. It's like mad science. All right, let me mix these guys. A little bit of that lighter brown. Some of my new color. Oh, somebody tried to call me. Now I can start to see that beige coming through. That's what I'm looking for. So what did I do? Right? I got a little white in there, right? From a lighter pigment that was peach in base, something that had white in it, right? I know all the CI numbers by heart to these pigments. Right? I used something that had a lower saturation to match that higher saturation, and I used something with a high value or very bright to reduce the low value, right? The murkiness of that brown. I think of value as kind of like neon versus like earth tones, right? It's really important that you play with your colors, right? One of the things that I teach my students to do before they work on clients is to take a photo of the lip, of the undertone, just the lip, right? So that way you don't kind of see everything else going around it. There's kind of like an optical game that your eyes play when they look at something just square on versus then they look at it as a whole. And then take that undertone and look for it in your pigments, right? If you're working with brows, you've got brown pigments on hand. And see if you can recreate something very akin to that undertone. And from there, you can play with your colors before you get started on your client. It's a good way to kind of learn color theory, right? Another way, obviously you can come take class and I will teach you, but I have charts and scales that correspond to make things a little bit simpler, but they're guides, right? Pigment companies are pigment companies, guys. They're not artists. They put out colors. Sometimes they're backed by artists. I'm not saying that they're not artists. Sometimes they're backed by artists. But those artists that make and create those colors can't potentially see who's on your table and know exactly if that pigment shade, that hue, saturation, and value is going to work for the undertone that's on your table. It makes a big difference to just know your color theory, to play with your pigments. If your pigment shelf has one color orange on it and one color yellow on it, chances are that you're going to have somebody come back neutralized incorrectly. That's just the facts of the matter. You can get yellows and oranges in almost every pigment line on the planet, and I suggest that you get some multiple pigments. It will absolutely help you. So yeah, that's just kind of a little bit into color theory. It is a very long course here, about 3 days, and color theory is about a day and a half of that. So please don't think that this is by any means a class. It's not. It's just a way to kind of get some information. Let me see if there's anything else I can kind of add. So you guys know dilution is also your friend. You can use dilution to, as I said, add vibrancy to colors, right? You can see how diluted this color can get much more vibrant, right? Much higher in value than where it started, right? I'm decreasing the saturation and increasing the value to make it brighter, right? By diluting it. So you may have stuff in your shelf, on your pigment shelf, that just playing with a little bit of dilution can give you a bigger array, okay? I hope that helps, right? Right? Let's recap. Don't ask me what pigment I use. No, I'm kidding, right? There are so many different types, right? Hues, shades, values, saturation levels, and there are also more in the yellow category. I've got a bunch over there as well. I just grabbed what I could with one hand. And yeah, now that you've got orange healed lips, you may need to work with something in the purple field to kind of deal with that as well. But know your color theory, or seek out someone who can teach you. There are so many incredible artists out there who teach in-depth color theory. There really are. All over, like the United States, there's some in Canada as well. Some people who really have a handle on this and aren't just kind of slamming pigment on top of people. They actually know the how and the why behind what they're doing. It makes a huge difference. I can't say that enough. Hey Shay, I can't say that enough, guys. It's so important to understand your color theory, right? Don't fall into the whole marketing and this is what they use. And I asked an artist what orange they used and they said, I don't know, orange bananas from so-and-so, so that's what I'm gonna use. Because chances are the client that was on that table is not the same as the client that's on your table. No two lips are alike. They're like fingerprints. And you have to be able to evaluate and see that undertone for what it is and then go further. Definitely don't stop at, well, you know, this is a blue undertone and this is a purple undertone, because remember I said it before, the body doesn't make blue, okay? It doesn't. So, yeah, make sure that you know what you're doing. Make sure that you ask questions. And if you don't, guys, there's nothing wrong with education. I educate myself constantly. I take classes all the time. I know there's a couple of amazing artists who've popped onto this live really quick, probably just to see what I was up to, but hi guys. They all know their stuff, right? And I'm not gonna say the other word. They all know their stuff, right? And the reason that they get asked all these questions is because they have a handle on their color theory, okay? So, thank you. Make sure, and if you've got questions, I'll stay on for another 5 minutes. If you've got some questions about color theory, now's your chance. Okay, looks like everybody is good. All right, I'm gonna leave this up. You guys can rewatch it, enjoy it, and have a great day.